One of the most common questions I get is, when should I open a store? What I want to do is make that decision easier for you so you know what fits you. And I'm going to show you exactly what some of these are. There are some benefits to having a store. You do not need a store in order to start selling. You can start selling from a personal account. You can get a store now for as little as $5 a month. There are some real benefits to having a store. So let's move to the computer. Let's talk about what some of those things are, and let's see what fits you best so that you can make the right decision. I've moved over to the computer, and here we're going to take a look at my ChaChingKing account, which does not have a store, and let's look at some of the things that are going to be different. And don't forget that at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you some benefits that aren't included on some of the main pages that you see that I think are really important and might help you make the decision on whether or not a store is right for you. On the screen that you see here, I do not have a store. For most things, it isn't going to make a difference. One of the common questions I get is, if I have a store, am I going to sell more? And the answer to that is no. Unless you've done a lot of work building a specific brand, having a storefront isn't going to increase your sales because people are looking for specific items. But there are some other benefits to it. Here's my overview. I don't have anything to ship right now. One of the biggest areas that you're going to see a difference is in the marketing. And so let's take a look at that. And they've got new features that's going to pop up every time. I haven't done any specific branding to this store. It might not be a bad idea for the ChaChingKing account for me to do some branding. Where you're really going to see a difference is on this tab marked promotions. But watch what happens when your account doesn't have a store when you click on it. It is going to bring up the different store options. And if we back out of that and we click markdown sales, you're going to see that it brings up the options to have that. So let's talk about what the storefronts are and whether or not they're right for you. There are 5 different store levels. You've got your starter store level all the way up to an enterprise store. Let's talk about what they cost and what the benefits are of each one. I am going to refer, if you look carefully, look at starter over here, and you'll see that it says $4.95 a month in big letters, and then down below it's $7.95 a month. And what that is if you commit to having a store for a year, the price is actually significantly lower. If you're not sure that you can commit that, don't get a store at all. Just keep doing what you're doing. So when I refer to the price of these, I'm going to refer to the monthly cost with the 1-year plan. So with the starter plan, which a lot of you are probably going to consider, there are some really good benefits to that, but you're going to miss out on some other good benefits that come with the basic and the premium. So let's scroll down and take a look at that. But at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you what the benefits are of the other basic and the premium store that you're going to miss with the starter. I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing the anchor store or the enterprise store, because I'm thinking that the people that are going to be using those stores are probably not watching a beginner series video on whether or not they should get a store at all. I'm thinking that they've probably spent some time investigating that for themselves. But man, there are some really good benefits that come with those. All right, for the starter store, when you compare the starter to the basic to the premium, the starter store is going to run you $5 a month. The basic is $22, and the premium store is going to run you right at $60 a month. So let's talk about what you get with each one of those. First and foremost, you do not have to have a store in order to sell. With the starter store, you're going to get 250 items a month that you can list without an additional insertion fee. When you go above that, you're going to start incurring 30 cents per item. And your final value fees, of course, they vary from item to item. We typically average 12 to 12.5%. I don't see a huge difference with that between the starter and the basic and the premium. There are some differences, but not enough for me to base my decision on that. The biggest difference you will see when you move from starter to basic is that you go from 250 items a month to 1,000 items a month. If you are just listing, say, 100 items a month, and what that means when you're listing, let's say you've listed 100 items, when that 30 days ends and those items relist, that's part of your item count. So let's say you keep 100 items in your store and you're selling 50 a month. Well, that's 150 a month. You probably don't even need the starter store because you're not going to spend a whole lot more than that unless you want some of the other benefits that come with it. But once you pass up, say, 400 items, let's say that you're keeping 400 items in the store and you're selling another 100 items a month, now you're paying that 30 cents for every single item over 250. It might make sense to move up to the basic store, plus you're going to get that hidden benefit that isn't even on this page that I think is really important when you're considering whether or not it works for you. So you move from 250 to 1,000. When you move up to the premium store, you get 10,000 items a month. Melody and I, on our main account, we pay the premium store fee. We usually run about 1,000 items in our store at any given time, but then keep in mind that we've also sold 200 to 300 items that month. So I would be paying a fee on top of those, and there are some benefits to your final value fees and things like that. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more, and I want to take a look at some of the things that you get with each store. With the starter store, when you list an auction item and it sells, you do not get the insertion fees back on that item, and you will with the basic store and the premium store. We don't run a lot of auctions, so that for us would play no bearing in whether or not we have a store. If you were running all auctions, that might make a big difference. On all of these, you'll notice, even with the starter store, you unlock the promotions manager where you can promote your items. You unlock the markdown manager to where you can run a sale if you want to run a sale. There are discounts that will come from certain things that eBay's negotiated with, and you'll see that you can buy some things that are a little bit cheaper than you could buy if you don't have the store. You unlock the ability to have a store homepage. And if you're going to do any of your own branding and you've spent some time building that, whether through social media or through eBay or another one, having a storefront is great. I really do like the link to my eBay store on my items. And what that means is if somebody goes to my item and they're looking at it, there's a link to go look at the rest of my stuff. And I really do like that. With the starter store, you do not get access to TerraPeak. TerraPeak is basically, it just keeps track of the eBay information of the what has sold and how much it sold for 2 full years. And that's a valuable thing because eBay only keeps it for, I think, 90 days to where you can go back and look at individual items and how much they sold for. So being able to go back 2 years is quite a bit of valuable information. That becomes more valuable if the items that you're trying to research, the items you're trying to figure out how many have sold and like that, if there's not a great deal of them for sale at any one time and you need more history in order to establish the cost and the sell-through rate and the pattern and things like that. You do get that. You get access to TerraPeak right here on eBay with the basic store and the premium store. As far as unlocking anything else, with the way more expensive stores, I think it's Anchor and with the Anchor and the Enterprise store, then you unlock basically a concierge. You have somebody at eBay that you can call who's going to take your call. And like the rest of us, we're either calling the main number or we're using the eBay for Business on Facebook Marketplace. You can read down here at the bottom about which one is best, and probably a lot of you have already read that and you don't know if it applies to you. So there is a hidden benefit to these that I really do want to talk about. If you're going to run a store, there's more to it than just getting your listings cheaper or saving money. Being able to run promotions and being able to run a markdown, those are big for increasing your sales. We run a small markdown almost all the time, and it really does drive traffic to our store. We can tell if we're not getting any action during the day, it's probably because our sale ran out and we need to get another one started. There is also something that you get with the basic store and the premium store that you do not get with the starter store. And every quarter, eBay gives you a coupon with the basic store. With the basic store, it's $25 every quarter. So $100 of the fee that you're paying for having the basic store, you're going to get back in coupons that you can use to buy the eBay branded shipping supplies. For example, I buy shipping boxes from them. I buy their eBay tape. And so of that cost, that $60 a month I'm paying, I get back $200 a year on that. That's a huge benefit when you're looking at a store. There's a lot more to it than just, I need to have a store because I'm a seller. You do need to consider whether or not this is going to be something that at a minimum you're going to look at like a part-time job. Is it going to be an actual business for you? That's the first step, because if it's not, then I don't know that I would jump into a store, especially not when you're going to commit to it for at least a year is what I would do. If you're not going to have more than 200 or 300 items in your store on a regular basis, then it's harder and harder to justify unless being able to run a sale is really important. And I think it should be, and whether or not the promotions and those kind of things matter to you. What level of store? If you're going to be doing like Melody and I, and you're going to move up to that 1,000 items a month, and plus the items that you've sold, one of the things to consider when you're trying to decide what level of store best fits you is not just the number of items that you're going to consider. You got to consider how much it's going to cost. There's the discounts that go along the way, but don't forget those store coupons that you're going to get every quarter. None with the starter store, $25 with the basic, and $50 with the premium store. I hope that was helpful. I know that there's a lot of beginners out there who want to be successful at eBay, and if that's the case, what you need to do next is to watch this video right here.